Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Transfer Student webinar. I'm joined by our 4 panelists this evening, but before I get around to introducing them, if you'll just take a moment to identify the question and answer board on the right-hand side. You can submit your questions there as well as on Twitter using hashtag #RCTransferPanel. I'm also accepting questions via email to the email address listed on your invitation. All right, to begin our webinar, we'll be starting with our transfer coordinator, Adam Shurr. He will be starting us off. Next, we will have our Associate Dean of the College, Dean Wallace. After that, we'll be joined by Debbie Woodall-Stevens, our Associate Director of Student Financial Services. And finally, we will hear from Barbara Thrasher, our Registrar. So without further ado, Adam, please take it away.
All right, thank you, Lexi. My name is Adam Shurr, and I am one of the admissions counselors here at Randolph. I work specifically with transfer students. I may have worked with some of you already. So it's my role here at Randolph to kind of just guide you through the whole process of applying as a transfer student. So I work with you just filling out the application. If you have questions about that, I let you know what documents are needed to come in throughout the process. And if there's anything along the way that I don't know how to answer, I can definitely find the right person to answer the questions that you might have.
Hi, my name is Paula Wallace. I'm the Associate Academic Dean, and my primary responsibility is to academic advising at the college. And so I serve as transfer advisor until students declare the major, and I can talk about advising if you have more questions on that. I also supervise our academic support services involving a writing lab and tutoring services, both in terms of learning strategies, tutoring, and subject matter tutoring. Next to you.
Well, thank you. My name is Debbie Woodall-Stevens. I'm the Assistant Director of Student Financial Services. And of course that encompasses financial aid, and that is a question that is always on every student's mind, but especially our transfer students. They always want to know, how much financial aid can I get? How do I go about getting financial aid? Do you offer programs for students with VA benefits? And the answer to that is yes. I am the Veteran Services Coordinator here, and our office will work with you as far as applying for financial aid and the documents that are required to submit in order to receive financial aid. So we'll take you through that entire process and answer all your questions. Barbara?
Good evening. My name is Barbara Thrasher, and I'm the Registrar here at Randolph College. My involvement in the transfer process is to evaluate the transfer credit that you have taken at other colleges. So the first step is to get us an official transcript, and once we have that official transcript, we'll take a look at it. And any courses that are relevant to the liberal arts in which you have a C or better will come in, and we'll do an evaluation, tell you how many credits, hours of transfer you can get, and also tell you what general education requirements those courses meet. So I can guide you through the credit evaluation and answer all of your questions.
Wonderful. Well, thank you all. As we said in the advertisement for this student panel, this is geared specifically for our transfer students. So we want to answer as many of their questions as possible. So we're going to go ahead and jump right to the ones that we have received prior to the start of the webinar. And as I said before, please feel free to ask your questions either on the event page itself, in the Q&A function that we have on the live event, via hashtag #RCTransferPanel on Twitter, or via email. I will give you all a few moments to get those to me, and I will start off with the ones that we already have. Our first student who responded would like to know, how do I apply to Randolph College as a transfer student?
All right, I'll take that question. There's a couple different ways that you can apply as a transfer student to Randolph. The easiest, in my opinion, would be to do one of our online applications. So we have an in-house application that you can find on our website. It's pretty easy to find, and it's a fairly straightforward application. So you just fill that out and you can submit it online. There's also the common application. If you're familiar with that, you can use that. We do accept that. And then if neither of those options work for you, you can do a paper application. And And that's something you can do obviously in person here at Randolph. If you want to drop in and meet with me, I can help you just walk you through that process of filling it out and letting you know what's required on that application. So there's a few different ways that you can do the application, and it's just really whatever you're comfortable with and whatever is most convenient for you.
Great. Thanks, Adam. Our next participant would like to know, can I submit my application for transfer on paper? Which you've already answered, so we'll move on to the next one. The next would like to know which supporting documents are needed as a part of the transfer application.
Okay, so along with the actual application that we need, and I just want to remind you to hit submit on the application. A lot of people forget that part of the process, so they think that they've done the whole application and they failed to hit the submit button, so just don't forget to do that. But if you do, it's okay. That'll be my first question for you. So along with the application, we're going to need a copy of official transcripts from whatever schools you have previously been to. So those need to be mailed in to us. We also require a recommendation letter, and that can be from a former professor, teacher, athletic coach, someone who knows you and can tell us a little bit about your character. And then we also require a writing sample, so you can submit a piece that you've written. Even if you want to submit something that you've written in a class that you've taken, we would just like to see your writing style, and we do require that as part of the process of the application. And then finally, if you have your high school transcripts, we would like to see those if possible as well.
Great. If you don't mind, I'd like to skip to a live question that we just received. We have a student who would like to know how they can apply to become an RA, or a resident assistant.
Well, I'll do my best. I'll do my best. Well, everything is on our portal in terms of advertising for those kinds of positions. So in the spring of every year, and sometimes in the fall, depending on the needs, they call for applications, and they also call for nominations from faculty and staff. But you can nominate yourself, and you can apply. Then there's an interview process and selection process, and then the hard work begins.
Excellent, thank you. Our next question is directed specifically to you, Dean Wallace. What are Randolph College's transfer requirements for admission?
In terms of the academic record and not documents, we're talking.
Right.
That's right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, I would sum it up this way, just short and sweet. What we're looking for that predicts success here at the college is really a solid academic program that implies preparation for an undergraduate degree at a liberal arts institution. And I would also say, for me, the most important is a strong work ethic that implies the willingness to do the hard work that always brings good results.
Our next live question I'll direct to you, Adam. Is it possible to tour and stay on the campus overnight during the summer?
Yes, definitely it is possible to come tour over the summer. We, in fact, encourage that. As far as staying over, that is something that currently we do not offer overnight visits in the summer, just because typically when students come during the year, they stay with current students in the dorms on campus. But we can definitely show you around the residence halls if you come here in the summer, and set you up with a walking tour of the campus, and it takes about an hour to an hour and a half, and it's a great way to get a feel for what the college is like. And if it is at all possible for you to come visit, we highly recommend it. And I believe my contact information will be displayed at the end of this session, so if you have questions about touring or want to set up a campus visit, I'd be happy to help you with that and set that up for you.
Great. Our next student would like to know, do they have to take the SAT or the ACT in order to be eligible for transfer?
That is something that is optional to submit those scores to us. It's an optional part of the process.
Wonderful. Our next student would like to know, when is the application deadline for fall and spring, if possible?
Okay, so that's something here at Randolph. We work on a rolling admissions type of system. So basically, the sooner that you can get us your information and application and all the supporting documents, the better. We will work with you. I know sometimes applying as a transfer student, things get pushed back a little bit, more so than a traditional student. So we know that sometimes applications come in later and later throughout the summer for the fall semester. So we will definitely work with you in your personal situation. But we would just, I think all of us would encourage you to get it in as soon as you can. And it's not that hard of a process to apply here. We can make it super easy for you. It's just a matter of, like we said before, getting in touch with the right people from your previous institutions, and that's usually what takes the longest throughout the process, is getting us your transcripts from the other schools that you've been to. But once we have that, we're set. It's easy. Yeah.
Great. If students have sent in their transcripts and applied for classes, when should they expect to hear their class schedules?
I will respond to that. The first thing I would say is we're going through right now, after the transcripts have been evaluated, then I began to work with a plan, and that plan sometimes involves consultation with other faculty. And right now what I'm waiting for is some placement determinations in mathematics, foreign language, and to see the English writing skills. But I am hopeful that I can have all the transfer students in courses by June 9.
Okay, great. All right. Our next student would like to know how many credits they can transfer into Randolph College.
I'll take that one. It's got the numbers and here. Here at Randolph, we require a student to complete 124 semester hours of credit, and we will allow them to transfer in 68 hours of that. That means that they must do 56 hours here. And we also, within that, require them to do, of their major requirements, they must do 15 hours in residence, and of a minor, they must do 6 hours of that in residence here. So the bottom line is you can bring in up to 68 hours. Most of that would be prior to entry that would have been completed. And once you enroll, we will only allow you to do 18 hours elsewhere over the summer.
Excellent. Barbara, I believe this one will go to you as well. If I have failed a class and retake it, will the failing grade remain on my academic record at Randolph College, or will it be substituted for the second attempt?
Well, it's going to depend upon when you took it. If you took a course in which you made a failing grade prior to coming, if it's from one of the other schools, then we're only going to bring in the courses for which you got a C or better. And the grades will actually not appear on your Randolph transcript. We will only give you the credits for those courses in which you got a C or better. If you're talking about a course once you enrolled here that you get a failing or a grade in, we will allow you to repeat courses in which you get a D or F. But both courses will remain on the transcript, and both courses will continue to average into the QPR here. We call it a quality point ratio, and it's the same thing that you might be familiar with. It's called the GPA at other places.
Okay, excellent. What is the minimum grade that I must receive in a course for it to transfer? And I think we already went over that, so we'll skip to the next one that we have. If I took IB and AP classes in high school, will those credits transfer as transfer credits?
Yes, provided I have an official score report. I'm in charge of evaluating AP. We give credit for a score of 4 or better. I use AP scores less than 4 for placement determinations in foreign language and mathematics, for example, and a score of 5 or better for IB higher level examinations. We also take GCE A-level examination scores and evaluate those. And the credits count toward the graduation requirement. They can count toward a major or minor, and also toward general education requirements.
Okay, excellent. Our next student would like to know, and I know that a lot of our traditional and transfer students are worried about this, should I be worried that I will not be able to get the classes that I need?
That's up to me. I'm not sure if the students can always get what they want, but they'll get what they need at that particular time. That's what I'm involved in doing, to give transfer students applying for this coming fall priority over the new students, I guess the new first-year students. And that's sort of my way of sending the signal of that, that as you move up in the class, as you move into the different classifications, you also move up in the priority of registration. So that means I'm respectful of time to graduation, and we will do our very best and have a really good record of making that happen.
Excellent. And Debbie, I believe this one will go to you. Is financial aid available for transfer students?
Absolutely. That's one thing that we do in our office really well, is award financial aid and make sure that every student that comes to Randolph College has some form of financial aid. And that includes our transfer students. I think transfer students will find that the scholarships that the college offers transfer students are very generous. We also encourage our students to file the free application for federal student aid, better known as the FAFSA. That's sometimes hard for people to say. Students who are residents of Virginia and have been a resident domiciled in Virginia for at least 1 year are eligible for the Virginia Tuition Assistance Grant. And that grant, we commonly call it VTAG, will provide students in the 14-15 year with $3,100, which is awarded to, like I said, students who are residents of Virginia attending a private college in Virginia, which Randolph College certainly is. So yes, financial aid is available for students. Some students don't want to file the FAFSA, or their families are reluctant to do that because they think that they will not get any financial aid based on the family's income. But we certainly encourage it for everyone, because we have no way of gauging in, let's say, an appeal situation, the family's actual level of need without the FAFSA. And the FAFSA does open up some other doors for student aid that are not available to people who do not file the FAFSA. So it certainly won't hurt you, and it can definitely help you.
Okay, excellent. Next, they would like to know what types of scholarships are transfer students eligible for.
We typically give transfer students a Randolph College grant or scholarship of about $20,000 for the 14-15 academic year. That is the highest level of scholarship for our transfer students, and just about all of them have qualified for it that I know of.
All right.
Yeah, so for those of you who are still in the process of applying to Randolph as a transfer student, if you are admitted at this point, you're eligible for a $20,000 scholarship from Randolph.
Okay. We have a question from another student. They're asking, I'm not from Virginia. Would Randolph be able to match any in-state aid that I receive?
At this point, the answer to that would be no. The maximum amount that we are awarding from institutional funds, the Randolph Scholarship, as Adam mentioned, is the $20,000, plus whatever a student would receive from federal student aid by having filed the FAFSA.
Okay. All right. And I believe you might have already answered the next question, is does Randolph College accept the GI Bill?
Yes, we certainly do. We have many students here who are dependents of veterans and who received post 9/11 GI Bill benefits for education, housing, and books. We also have students, current students, who are veterans themselves and also receive benefits under that program. Typically, what we do for students who are dependents of veterans, Those students are required to provide us with a certificate of eligibility, which they would receive from Veterans Administration. We certify their enrollment with the VA, and the VA makes payment to Randolph College for the tuition benefit. Students also receive a monthly housing stipend as well as a book stipend, and they get those funds directly from the VA deposited into a student's checking or savings account.
Excellent. I'm going to sort of combine our next two questions. They're in stages, basically. So the first one is, can I live in a residence hall as a transfer student, and is the housing guaranteed? The next question is just finding out about when they will know about room assignments. So sort of almost a three-part question.
Can you live in the residence hall? Yes. Is the housing guaranteed? Yes. The only students that live off campus are non-traditional aged students, and those that live with their immediate families in a 50-mile radius of the college. So the ethos of the institution is residential. Community building is part of our goal there. So I would say yes on both counts.
Okay, excellent.
And when will they know? That one I don't know the answer to.
Okay.
But there's an email that you can utilize to start with Adam,
Yeah.
and he will get in touch with our Director of Residential Life to give you information about when.
Right. And as far as that goes, even with course registration, housing, none of that is really triggered until we get your enrollment deposit. So at that point, that kind of opens the door for all of the next necessary steps to take place. So until we have a commitment that you're coming to the college, we don't have any answers as far as that goes. But once we know that you're committed to coming and have paid the $300 deposit, which will hold your spot here for the following semester, that's when we can really start talking specifics about housing and course registration and health forms and all that kind of stuff that we'll need to get from you.
Excellent. Okay, what type of advising is available for transfer students?
I would describe it as intensive because we take advising very seriously here out of respect for the cost of this enterprise to students. So time to graduation is really important. Once I get the information from the registrar, I begin to lay out a plan. And there are two types of advising we do here. Pre-major advising. Students normally do not declare their majors until the second semester of the sophomore year, which gives students time to explore. We also give transfer students a little time to explore. You do not have to know your major upon entry. Now, if you're coming in as a junior, it's helpful to know that you've done some thinking about this. But the whole idea is to make the credits you have work for you. And pre-major advisors are generalists. They know how to go about that. But I also serve as a major advisor until I help you through the declaration process, which we can do readily in the first 2 weeks of classes. And then you would move on to a member of the department of your major. So that's kind of the way it works. I think what transfer students often do not know is just how meticulous we are about their process. And one of the signs of that is many transfer students go out on the website and try to register. No student register until they're authorized by the advisor, which for us guarantees that that student has had benefit of advisement. We don't like oopses, and we want to make sure that student is on the right track. So students trying to register for themselves, unless they've gone through an advisor, that door is not open. And for new transfers this coming fall, once we have agreed in our email dialogue on a program of study that fits the students' needs and hopefully the expectations, then I will authorize the student to be registered by the registrar's office this first time, so we can minimize any difficulties in that registration process.
I think it's safe to say, too, whether you're a first-year student or a transfer student, you're going to receive the same level of advising no matter what you are classified as coming into Randolph, so you don't have to worry about that. The advising here is just, it's kind of what we pride ourselves on, and it is something that we take very seriously, I would say.
It's very much an individual process.
Right. There's not a lot of...
From the admissions side and from the advising side, financial aid, registrar's office, it's very much one-on-one. So we don't put you on a conveyor belt and just pass you along. It's very much an individual process.
And as transfer advisor, I kind of am in a position to advocate for transfer students when a course that is absolutely necessary as a gateway or a prerequisite, getting them on the path to good progress toward the major, even initially. I'm in a position to do that kind of advocacy.
Maybe one thing to add is that, as Dean Wallace said, this first time we will manually register you, but in the future, when you get ready to register for the spring semester next year, we do have online registration available, where you could be able to go in and select your courses, discuss it with your advisor. Once you're approved, then you can go online and register. But this first time, until you get here and are familiar with the school, we do go ahead and Dean Wallace handles getting you registered for your classes, and we will be doing that, as she said, very shortly.
Okay. We have a question that I feel that it would be best to kind of speak with the student personally, but just generally speaking, can you talk a little bit about the eligibility for transfer if there are still obligations to the previous institution, be it tuition payments that still need to be made or different things like that, and then we will also contact that student directly to make sure those questions are answered for that individual specifically.
I'd be happy to follow up specifically with whoever is asking that question, just because there are so many different specifics about that question that is very much an individual, it's a one-on-one type of situation. So yeah, but I'd be more than happy to talk to you about that. And like I said before, my information will be available on the page afterwards, and feel free to shoot me an email or give me a call, and we can chat about your specific situation rather than, talking specifics about stuff that we don't know all the details about.
Okay. And we have a former military service member who would like to know whether they are eligible to attend in the fall if they have just completed their common application.
Yeah, definitely. We are.
Deposit is made, yes.
For that student in particular, like we said before, along with the common application, there's a few other things that we need. We need the recommendation letter, the official transcripts from your previous colleges or college. We need a writing sample, and then if you have your high school transcripts, we can definitely accept those as well. Basically, the more information you can provide for us, the better. It gives us a more complete picture of your academic history. So any documents that you have, feel free to send those along to us. And yeah, let me make this very clear. There's definitely still time to enroll in the fall semester here. We do have space left, so we just encourage you to get it done as soon as you can, so that we can, like we were talking about, just start getting you registered for classes and things like that. So the answer is yes, and the sooner the better.
Mm-hmm. And Lexi, if that student, person that asked that question wants to know more about how the GI Bill benefits work here at Randolph, have them contact Adam, and he'll forward that question to me, and I'll be happy to address that.
Great. Our next student would like to know how they apply for the dual degree engineering program, and they're wondering if it's open to everyone. So this might be a little bit specific.
How do you apply? Well, first of all, we need to get you on that 3-2 track. And so fulfilling the requirements of an engineering physics major here at the college, it depends on where that student starts. Once they're on that track, they're advised by the pre-engineering advisor. That's one of our pre-professional advisors. We have them in health professions and law and teacher education. But once that pre-professional advisor, who's Peter Sheldon, will work with the student to through that application. We cannot guarantee admission because there is a grade point average that those engineering schools require. We have the closest affiliation with Washington University in St. Louis, but we have a 3-2 student going next year to Columbia University on a 3-2. But a lot depends on where that student starts with mathematics and physics.
Excellent.
And I will also be happy to answer any specifics. If I know the background, I can be more specific about that.
Okay. The student would like to know if it is possible to get the teaching licensure in 2 separate concentrations, such as theater, arts, and English. Theater, arts, English.
Well, for secondary, it certainly is.
Okay.
That's a lot of hard work.
Very ambitious.
Yes.
Excellent. Okay, well, it looks like our questions are slowing down this evening. I'm going to go ahead and allow a few more minutes for any last-minute questions to be sent in via the Q&A function on the actual event. You can also submit them on the wall of the webinar, also on Twitter or via email. Adam's information will be listed, as we said, at the end of this webinar, but my email is also listed on the actual invitation itself, and I'm happy to forward any emails that I do receive directly to Adam. So please feel free to use any form of communication that you are most comfortable with, and we will be sure to get that information or those questions along to the appropriate people to answer them for you. So I'd like to thank everyone for being a part of this webinar, especially our panel and then all of our viewers as well. So we look forward to seeing you this fall, and we hope we've answered your questions this evening. Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night.